So we want to start a tradition. Welcome back to CSC241. And this is Friday, and we want to do things that are hands-on. We want to engage new things, and we want to get hands-on Fridays. We want to bring it home so that the stuff that we learn in terms of concepts and methods become a part of the experience here. And we get a chance to discover the value of the educational process that you're paying so dearly for. Some of you have financial aid support, but many of us are paying student loans. And those were put on hold during the COVID crisis, but now we're back to paying for student loans again. And hopefully we ignite in you an itch to take up the habit of being a lifelong learner, right? And that's one of our goals as a university, is to go ahead and provide practical, useful information, knowledge, a capacity to do things, a skill set that's marketable. We want to help you get a good discount, right? And when you're talking about good discounts, what I'd like to do is devote a little, we're going to take a few side trips today. So one of the things that I'd like to do is to ask you to do as I do. And so I'm going to open some screens, and hopefully you have your personal technology running. You've joined with it, whether it's a laptop or a dual nature tablet that converts into a laptop with a keyboard kind of thing. If you're on your smartphone, you might be able to do some of these things with your smartphone, but I'm not so sure. So hopefully you remember that Fridays are the day, if you can't do it any other day of the week, you join the session with your tech, because I'm going to show you some things and I'm going to ask you to do them, and then we're going to compare results. We're also going to use Fridays as a workshop. So the presentation of new ideas and concepts is going to be relatively light, but we are going to devote more time just to hands-on. And if you are working through some assignments or you are working through solutions, this is also the Q&A or recitation, if you will. The recitation session, the weekly recitation session, where you can bring your challenges or your frustrations or the part of the study guide you just don't get. So it's designed to be kind of an open forum, and I want to make it a safe forum. So let's have some ground rules. No question is stupid. Absolutely no question. Because there are some things on a device or a personal PC or a workstation that may be dramatically different because something else is going on. And people may be asking a simple question like, I can't get the screen, I can't get my screen up, right? And that's an opportunity to get under the hood and find out if there's a hardware component to the difficulty. Now, for your own edification, if you're on the screen on a Windows machine, or if you're on a Mac, you can go to About This Mac. So you can go in the upper right corner, there's a menu that says About This Mac. There's more information about the hardware. In order for you to determine more information about your own hardware, one of the coolest resources, this is a hardware course, is to open up your File Explorer. And by the way, I see I have 10 students in play here. Is there, let me capture this screen and see if there's anybody else that's in the mix, that's sharing a screen with someone else. Is there anyone, can everyone see this list? Okay, so Rosalina just joined us, so I'm going to go ahead and save this as, so this is my attendance roster. Some of you may have your screens in the mix, and some of you may be sharing with others, so please speak out right now. It's 1 September. We've started our foray into that segment of hurricane season that's got the greatest amount of activity from now until the end of October. You know what? I'm just gonna, we got some more here. I'm gonna cancel this. recapture this. We'll say please stand by 1 September with Rosalina. Okay, so when you join on screen, we'll update the list. So getting back to your technology, your hardware, one of the things that we want to do is to take a look at the management options. So if you find where it says this computer or my computer and you select it and then use the right mouse button, you should see an option to manage your computer. And when you click manage, the computer management console, the MMC, this is called a Microsoft Management Console. The computer management MMC, micromanagement console, will appear. And this is consistent with Windows operating systems, whether you're dealing with the client operating system, the server operating system, all those. And one thing you'll notice is that there's a device manager and a disk manager, right? And what we're going to do is also show you how to get in there other ways. You can go into control panel and you can, if it shows categories, you can show large icons and then go into administrative tools. And inside administrative tools, there should be computer management and then other resources, right? So that's another way to get into computer management. What I want you to do is to get into computer management with me right now, okay? So once you're in, yes, was there a question? Was there a question? Question, comment? Okay. Now the computer management screen, if you click on Device Manager, here's something that I would like to show you. I can go into computer and I know what kind of processor it is. I can go into disk drives. It'll tell me what kind of disk drives I have. Display adapters. It'll tell me if I have an NVIDIA or if the display adapter is built into the chip. I can go into network and see the network adapters and interfaces. Under processors, it'll show me what kind of processor specifically I have. Under ports. Now, these are representations of the physical system devices, right? So I get into here, I can look at USB devices. I can basically explore my system devices. This is a virtual representation of the physical device. And in terms of computer hardware, what you may have is something that doesn't look as clean as this. So if you first open your computer and you don't see a list that looks something like this, one of these is open. Like if one of these is open, and then there's an exclamation point or a red X, it means that there's a physical device that is not properly configured, okay? Now you can go into the BIOS and cut some things on or off. And on some computers, it's a nuisance issue, but the network is in the boot order on some computers, especially in office and enterprise environments. So what happens is you start up the computer and then you see something about the network and it's trying to connect and boot from the network. And you're like, what the heck is this? And it has to do with the boot order, right? You can enable the network interface, but disable the boot capacity of the network interface so that it's not a boot device, right? So you have configuration options. What you want to do is look for yellow exclamation marks or red exclamation marks. Oftentimes when you have a goofy device, one of the things you can do, and I'm going to try to find something that isn't going to like cripple me here, but let's pretend I had a yellow exclamation point on my mouse driver because I connected a bargain mouse that I picked up at a local store, and it was some no-name $2 mouse, right? And I plug it in and it's there and it kind of works, but not so much. And there's a yellow exclamation point. One thing I can do is uninstall the device. And that's counterintuitive. You're like, wait a minute, if I uninstall it, it won't work and I'll screw everything up. I want you to watch what's going to happen next. And actually, I'm going to do this with a network interface instead of the mouse, because then I'm going to lose my mouse. Then I'm going to try to go and use the mouse to, I don't want to saw off the limb. That would be bad in front of an audience while I'm recording. So let's take the wireless. I'll take the wireless adapter on my PC right now because I know I'm connected hardwired also to the Ethernet. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to uninstall this. Let's pretend that that has a yellow exclamation point, yellow triangle with an exclamation point. If I uninstall it, it's going to say, warning, you're about to uninstall this device from your system. And you say, okay. And you uninstall it. Now, this is particularly useful if you have display problems. So Windows is supposed to know what kind of display you have. And if it doesn't know what kind of display you have, the brand and the model, it's going to use a generic plug and play display driver. And oftentimes that's weird and wonky. So you uninstall it and now you see it's gone. And what have I done? If I want to use wireless now, I can't use wireless, right? No, I just go up to action and then I scan for hardware changes. And when it scans for hardware changes, it finds a wireless adapter and now it loads a new installation of the hardware adapter, okay? That's one way to clear the problem with devices in your own system. But the other cool part about this, and we're going to talk about this in great depth later, is that the hardware is saddled. Think of the hardware as your horse. The hardware is the beast of burden. The hardware is the ox that pulls the cart or the plow, right? The hardware is the Mack truck that delivers all the goods. But to yoke that power, you need an operating system. The operating system takes each of those hardware devices and it applies a driver, a software driver for each component. That is a piece of software that is specifically engineered and crafted to utilize all of the features and functions of the hardware, all of it, okay? And it's going to provide the operating system with a virtualized representation of the physical hardware. It's so virtualized, it exists in the random memory. That virtual component right before your eyes in the operating system is stored in RAM. And you can see I can literally see which range of addresses. Let's get into this one here. Maybe this one will show us. There we go. Can everybody see resources? So I have a physical Ethernet port on my PC in this classroom right now, just like you have a physical wireless adapter. And when Windows or Linux or the Mac environment, you can get this information in the Mac environment as well. It's going to load a virtual representation of that network interface into your system when you turn on your machine. Now, why is it creating a generic, general purpose virtual representation of the network interface? It's so that application developers and computer science graduates can procreate and continue the cycle of life. What am I saying? I want you to imagine a world. So Friday is also for special topics, okay? And this is the special topic of the day. I want you to get under the hood and I want you to look at your device manager and I want you to see if there are any yellow exclamation points. But the other thing I want you to understand is that computer science students can become application developers that have a life, that can date. They can go on dates. They can meet the love of their life and have children, and then their lives go on. And I'm not making this up, because I want you to imagine a world where in the beginning, let's go back to the Garden of Eden. In the world of computer science, we can go back to the Garden of Eden, and it's when they developed the very first computer. I want you to imagine you're there on that day when the very first computer showed up. And then every time they add a piece of hardware, or they change a piece of hardware, or there's a different company with a different brand, they have to rewrite and recompile the software. Let's say that again. Without this innovation, what we're saying is that computer science students would go on to become application developers, and they wouldn't have the time to breathe. They couldn't take bathroom breaks, because every time a name brand computer system came up with a new device, we'd have to retool, recompile, and republish each of those software components every single time they came out. Question: how long does it take for my brand new, and this is brand new, and this just pisses me off to no end. I mean, we're all adults here, right? Aren't we all adults? Okay. We're all adults. Let's stop sharing for a second. Let's talk hardware. So on Fridays, I'm going to move. I'm going to get around. We're going to get hands-on and stuff. I told you that. This is a brand new Pixel 7 Pro. I've had it a month. I've waited years. I've waited so dang long for a new phone, it's not even funny. But the industry says, how often should I get a new phone? Anyone?
2 to 3 years.
2 or 3 years, right? 2 or 3 years. And the simple truth is, I have this for a month, and what do I see in the headlines last night? Oh, Google is putting out the new Pixel 8 Pro. And I have this a month. I thought I had the baddest piece of hardware that Google could make. And a month later, they're like, oh, look at all these new innovations. Look at how this hardware has been re-engineered. It's so much more superior than the last one, right? And my thing is it took me years to convince my wife it was okay to do this and to have the budget to do this, right? And now I have my device and my hardware, and I know this is like marriage, because there's no way I can toss this. This isn't a date. We're not speed dating here. I can't go, oh, it was nice talking to you. Where's the Google 8? Where's the Pixel 8? I can't do that, right? That's the problem. And you can't do that either. And if you're going to get in this world of technology, the thing you have to remember is that tech is always changing, especially the hardware. The hardware itself is the most rabid, other than cybersecurity. It's the hardware, it's the computer engineering that changes overnight, right? So let's get back to this. All right, so does anyone have any questions about what you're seeing on your side? Does anyone have, like, do we have any brave volunteers? I should share my screen again. Oh, and Zeden's in the waiting room. Good day, Zeden. And Marilyn. Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us. Does anyone have any questions about their computer management screen and the device manager that they're seeing there? Okay, so yeah, we have special topics on Friday. Let's look at disk management real quick. The I/O part. In your first module, we talk about the basics, the basic computing plan. There are 3 zones. The first zone has to do with RAM, the second zone has to do with CPU, and the third zone has to do with I/O. People have been reading the study guide, right? You've been in the study guide. Didn't we have von Neumann in there? Isn't von Neumann in the module 1? Is von Neumann in the module 1 study guide? Let's just check. No? Let's just check. I just want to check to make sure. Is von Neumann in our study guide?
I don't think so.
Nope, not yet.
Here.
Okay, he will be. Basic model of a computer, okay?
Right, yeah.
Basic model of a computer. You're going to, all right, so that's module 2. Right now, we're just dealing with ones and zeros, yeah? So the basic model of a computer is ones and zeros. When we're talking about von Neumann, we're saying that that all of the basic components of your computer system have to be able to efficiently work with ones and zeros. And let's get back to this. So your disk, your hard disk, is actually a part of the I/O zone. It's input output, and it's where the memory is stored permanently. And what you're looking at is, I'm going to hit the skinny button here, and I'm going to open up my device manager again. So this is disk management. I opened up the computer management module, the management console, right? So that's a little bit redundant. Computer management is the name of the Microsoft Management Console, and we manage computers with it. And you can go to your start menu and type in computer management. That's another way you can open it, whether you're Windows 11 or Windows 10. We were in device manager and we explored some digital components in there. And then here's the other thing I want to share with you. Does everybody see the word? What is that word right there? Can you see the screen?
Basic.
Basic. I have a basic hard disk. But watch what I can do with this if I understand the hardware and how it works with the operating system. The operating system, again, is like the saddle that we put on the horse or the yoke that we put on the oxen. It's the thing that allows us to extend and take advantage of the hardware resources. I can convert this to a dynamic disk, and then I can do really cool things that make it harder to lose my data or for hackers to get into the Kool-Aid and wipe it out. So one of the things that we're going to take the time to do is explore the virtual options for the physical devices. But I want to make no mistake about it. You can't give what you don't have. Now, I know when I was in grade school, the teacher would make us recite in unison to make sure that people heard. And I'm really tempted right now to ask everybody to unmute your microphone and say, you can't give what you don't have. Say it just like that. On the count of 3, everyone, when I get to 3, unmute your microphone, say 1,000 to yourself, and then say, you can't give what you don't have, right? Bear with me, ready? 1, 2, 3, pause. You can't give what you don't have. Okay, good, great. Now, the thing is that there are going to be hucksters out there that say, oh, you can do stuff with virtual systems, and wow, look at how cool it is, and you don't have any limitations when you're in the virtual world. I'm like, that's baloney. If you have a PC with 4 gigs of RAM, you aren't creating a virtual machine with 10 gigs of RAM. If you have a virtual machine, if you have a physical machine with 160 gigabytes, it's an old laptop and it has 160 gigs of the physical hard disk. Do you think it's possible to create a 1 terabyte virtual hard disk? Actually, the answer is yes, if you connect a 1 terabyte external hard drive and then use the entire hard drive external to create just a virtual hard drive. But you'll be married and have kids and then grandkids by the time that thing loads. Okay? So, we asked you as a part of your activities this week to optimize your personal technology. And so what's going to happen is you're going to submit some things. And if I see certain details in there, I want to send you an email and say, hey, you're in a good place, or no, we need to talk. And I want you to know that you still get credit for the exercise and you still are part of the class, but I may ask you to participate with the rest of the class using an online computer, because I don't want you to have headaches trying to use your computer. It is true that we've had some students that use a Chromebook, and a Chromebook is 3 years old, and it has, I don't know, 4 gigs of RAM, and it's running a different operating system, and it's just, I mean, it's a convenient mobile device, and it's quick and it's easy to use and it's relatively bulletproof, but then you can't follow along and do the same things with everybody else in the class, right? So I just wanted to share that with you before we get into the last part of our day. So before we open the floor to Q&A and hands-on, it's sort of a assistance workshop, because by the time we get into this holiday weekend, I want to make sure everybody's done and completed the assignments, especially the solution. I'd like to go ahead and take a look at this. I'm going to send this to you, okay? This is a worksheet. This is a binary essentials worksheet. And it's not posted as an assignment. But I'm going to put it in the references folder. And I'm going to put it in the references folder along with the flashcards. And I'm going to ask you to complete this. And then, as we start next week, you're going to have to take your first attempt at the module assessment. And I want you to complete the worksheet. There will be an answer key, and we'll go over the answers. In order for you to do what's on that binary essentials worksheet, you're going to have a simple table. And it's best if you build the table right now before your very eyes and you actually do it. There's an old saying, if you tell me something about, it's a Chinese saying, and it says, if you tell me about something, I'll hear about it. If you show me, I'll understand. But if I do it, it's kind of like there's another phrase. Would you like me to give you a fish today, or would you like me to teach you how to fish? Would you rather?
No, fish, you feed him friendly.
Would you rather? Right. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to open up, follow along with me, right? So this is the hands-on part. You're going to open up a Word document. You're going to say, why the hell am I in Word? Right? Open up a brand new Word document. And how many values are there in the hexadecimal system? Anyone? 16 values. Yes. And if I have a table with an extra row at the top for headers, if I have a table with extra rows at the top for headers, how many rows do I need to have labels at the top and 16 rows? And I want binary, decimal, and hex. Well, actually, let's do this. Let's do decimal, binary, and hex in that order. Binary, decimal, and hex. And we'll do 0 to foxtrot. Does everybody know what I'm doing here? Okay. So if you go to this screen, and let's just mix it up a little bit. Use the layout option, show your menu, and change the margins to narrow so that you have very little margin. And then let's go back here and then insert table, right? I want to go 3 across, and I want to go down. Here's 8. And what I can do now is highlight a row. So I'm going to click to the left. Everybody with me? And if I'm at home, I should be able to find an insert. Maybe I need to go to layout. Is it layout? No. So there's more than one layout. Everybody see that? Here's a layout. That's the page layout. This is the object layout. Here's table design, right? So I can get pretty granular here. Select the other layout to the far right. What I want to do is insert below, insert below, insert below, insert below, insert below. How many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay? How many more do I need? What's the magic number? 17. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Then I want you to take this crosshairs, click on it, go back to home, and hit the center button. Everybody with me? Okay. And then I want you to type in let's put decimal over here. And let's put binary here. Binary, if I can spell right. Let's put hexadecimal here. And why am I asking you to do this yourself? Yes.
I don't have the other layout.
Okay. All right. If you're missing an option for other, then just follow along for now. We're recording, but we'll do one-on-one in just a minute. You might find that the formatting didn't take effect, so you got to hit center again. Or just the line and center. There we go. I'll make this bold, right? Maybe I need to do this. Each row, that's kind of dorky. Why couldn't I do the whole thing and center that way? All right, so let's take the first value. What's the first number in the decimal system? 0, right? And what's the first number in the binary system? 0. I want you to use a complete nibble, please, okay? So use 4 places for your binary, all right? And what's here, right? So if I have decimal, I'm dealing with what? 15. And I have 1, 1, 1, 1. And here I have the letter. What letter am I putting here? F. Okay. But what I want you to do is follow along here, right? So if I put 1 here, that's the same as 0, 0, 0, 1. That's the same as 1. And what I want you to do is to work your way all the way down the column until you get to here. And I'm going to do it with you. We're going to race. This is a race. And then we're going to get back to the worksheet. So I'm going to talk about the worksheet. Basically, with this table, what you're going to do is you're going to use this table to work each of the worksheet problems. In some cases, you're going to work from, you're going to have to convert a binary to a decimal, and it's easier to do it by converting first to hex. Or if you're going from hex to decimal, it's easier to convert it first to binary. You'll understand what I'm saying in a minute. Now, if you're a cheater, you're a total cheater and you're a gamer and you're into cheating hacks and you just can't stand this and you're like, why am I going to do this manually? I want you to do it manually, and I want you to do it through the manual process using a table. But if you use the calculator and you say, oh, I'm going to go and use my calculator in programmer mode, and I'm just going to put in the stuff, that's a cheat. But you're never going to start thinking in binary terms. The goal here is not to see how good you are at cheating. The goal here is to see if you can think and work in different number systems to the point where you can get the same values, because later on, that's going to beat you up, or you're going to be the champ. And it's just that simple. You're going to do so much better later in the course if you trust me and you're like, okay, eat your broccoli, trust me, there's good dessert coming. Eat your broccoli. And some of you may like broccoli in the first place. Substitute your favorite horrific vegetable or menu item. May not be a vegetable. Okay, so yeah, let's race down the page and populate this, and let's do it right here and right now, real quick. So I'm going to have 2, I'll use my down arrow key. Let's race. Let's see if somebody else is going to, somebody else is probably already finished. Maybe. Is anybody finished already? Like the binary stuff too? Mm-hmm. And you're sure you've checked? And it's working. Everything's good. You didn't make any mistakes. You didn't make any mistakes.
You'll see now.
What's the mistake I'm using here?
Why you after 9 you're supposed to be ready.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Unlearning a thing is harder. That's why we're doing it manually. We're actually going through the steps to we are reprogramming our brains. That's the goal here. This is A now, this is B now, this is C now, and D, and E. And there we have it. Now the tricky part is binary. But there's a pattern I want you to see. As you start to fill this in, if you think through what happens each time, you'll notice in the progression there's a pattern. And the value is, if you do this manually, you'll pick up on the pattern. So I do this. The one place is turned on, so that's equivalent to 1. What do I have to do with these 4 zeros to make it equal to 2? Which place do I turn on? The second one. Remember, these are like light switches, on and off, right? So they said the second one, that's true, because the 2's place is turned on, the other ones are off. Now, what about 3?
The second and first one.
The second and the first one is correct because I have the 1's place turned on, I have the 2's place turned on. That makes 3 if I add those two together. Now, what about 4?
The third one on.
The third one over from the right is correct because 1's is turned off, 2's is turned off, but 4's is turned on. You see what's going on here. So how do I make 5 if 4 is there?
The third and the first.
The third and the first one, 0, 1, 0, 1. That's correct. What about the next? What about the next column?
The third and the second one.
Third and the second one, that would be the 4 and the 2 are turned on, which means I'm adding 4 and adding 2. Whoops, sorry. Good. Yes. What about 7?
The third, second, and first one.
This one. Oh, now remember this one. Remember this one. Remember this one. Because when you get to networking, you get into cyber, there are permissions that you turn on by lighting up 1, 2, and 4. And you use the command with the decimal number 7. But what you're really doing is taking a single bit and you're enabling read, you're enabling write, and you're enabling execute. Okay, we'll get into that later. That's cool. All right, so 1, 1, 1. That's a special pattern. How do I get 8?
So first one, not the first one, the last one.
Yeah, the 8th column is turned on, the other ones are turned off. And then 9. See, it's yeah, it's pretty intuitive. 1, 0, 0, 1. Once you do it, once you get there, you're like, okay, now it's 1, 0, 1, 0. And then if I'm going to add 1 to that, it's 1, 0, 1, 1. And then see, we want you to understand the progression physically. Is that right?
See ya.
Yeah.
That's 8 and 4. That's all.
Yeah.
Let's go.
There are other patterns. When we get to truth tables, you'll see other patterns in the binary. And if you get the patterns, you'll be like, oh, this is child's play. And you'll just do the pattern and then it'll go, how did you work up the truth table so fast? And you're like, it's a pattern. Look, it's, see how the ones kind of build down the column diagonally, right? That's what's happening. All right, let's keep going. 1, 1, 0, 1, because I'm just adding 1. That's all I'm doing. And then here we go, 1, 1, 1, 0. There is a pattern that you can follow down the screen, and it's a repeating pattern, and it'll start to make sense. It'll click. Now you can go into this. Now you can go into this, and you can work the problems. And if you know how shift calculations work, if I move to the left, I'm doubling, quadrupling, octupling 16 times, 32 times, and so on. If I'm moving to the right, if I'm moving a binary value to the right, I just can't go off the deep end if I have a 1 and I go past the 1's place, okay? Shifting right, so there's a limit. Any questions before we close this screen? All right, in the time remaining, so this is going to be a handy, helpful. This is the same thing as the flashcards, except it's condensed. And this is what you need to memorize before your assessment, because some of the questions, a good number of the questions are going to be, what is this hexadecimal value in binary? And all you're gonna do is look it up. But if you know it off the top of your head, that's even better. Okay? Try to do the answer to the question in the assessment off the top of your head, and then check it with your table or with the calculator. But don't go to the calculator. Don't be one of those people who life ends when their device is lost or stolen. Don't. Oh, I can't answer the question because I don't have the program or calculator in front of me. That's not why you're at a university learning how computers think. Because once you know how they think, now you can build the components and create your own new system from scratch. You can build memory modules and processors. And then when you're seeing stuff in the news, you know what's fake and what's real. That's real powerful. All right, so what I'd like to do is go here, and I'd like to ask, now we open up in the time remaining, does anyone have any questions? And I can stop recording and we can just have like an open session without recording where people say, hey, I'm stuck on this and my screen looks different. So why don't we do that? I'll stop sharing because, I mean, if you don't want to, I mean, maybe you do want to be that person. You're like, hey, I got a challenge for you. I got a brand new system. It doesn't look anything like yours. I want you to explain this. And you want that to be on live YouTube. I'll tell you what, we'll stop sharing and we'll stop recording.